Well, we're going to get started. Welcome to the 2017 Visioning Summit, which I have titled Passing Faith Around. My name is Andrew Duff. I'm the Director of Cross-Generational Ministry here at Good Shepherd Lutheran Church. Thank you all for being here. I am overwhelmed by the response as well as the great age and generation response to this Visioning Summit. I think that we have a lot of investment in our young people, and it shows by the participation here. Some of us have children in the youth ministry, some of us have grandchildren, some of us just love children. So thank you so much for caring for young people, for loving this community. Welcome, and thank you so much for being here. Speaking of kids that we love so much, we had some awesome awkward teams in the first slide as you all entered. I want to see if we could identify which members of staff and which members of council those young people are and who they have become. Number one, any guesses? Number one, number two, of course I put the best photo I've ever taken for my wedding. Very cool. So doing this is just a good reminder for practicing empathy with our young people, not knowing what they're going through or their experience. We've all had it. We've all grown up. We've all had adolescent years. And we've all come out the other end, and whatever happened to us as young people, as far as the people in our lives, our faith community, have grown up to be faithful, worshiping, practicing adults. And that's what we're talking about this morning. I want to break down our Visioning Summit and kind of in two parts. The first part is going to kind of talk about where youth ministry is today, what studies are saying, what research has shown as far as effective youth ministry and faith formation practices for young people and congregations together. And then we will talk about the future of our youth ministry next year and the vision for that, as well as throughout the time celebrate the great stuff that is already happening here at Good Shepherd. So, structures are important. We've spent a lot of time the last year and 3 months that I've been here, talking about the structures of our children's and youth ministry. I mean, that's what I was hired to do, cross-generational ministry. I was hired to implement the sustainable youth ministry model, which is all about foundational structure and backbone. And if volunteers leave or staff members leave, the youth ministry doesn't leave with it. So it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of thought, it takes a lot of listening before coming up with a structure, and that's what we're working on, that's what I'll share about. But before we do, structures simply aren't enough. Back in 2000, a big, huge study called the Study of Youth and Religion was performed. Tons and tons of young adults were surveyed, some who have kept the faith, some who have not, because we have noticed, and we're talking about all the time, that there's a decline in church attendance. Millennials specifically get a bad rap for no longer identifying with a religion, but rather classifying as nuns, or not that they're anti-religion, they've walked away from the church, and what used to be when they had kids and families, they would come back. We're not seeing that as much. So a big study was done in the early 2000s, and it's just kind of snowballed since then. Lots of other great research and studies have come from it, and they're all pretty much saying the same thing. And when I share what they're all saying, you'll understand my excitement why I'm seeing so many folks here today that don't have youth in the program, because it's about all of us, the factors that help form faith, lasting faith for our young people. What some may think is effective has been proven not to be, or really not to matter a whole lot. Having an off-the-charts cool quotient Is our ministry hip? Is it relevant? Do we have young people? Do we have cool people? We need a big, modern building. A lot of people say, my last congregation, we had a lot of people saying, well, we have a youth room, yes, but we need a designated gym, or we need a space for our young people that's just theirs. Studies are, we're at that doesn't matter. It's fine. We're just saying that's cool. Contemporary worship style. Doesn't matter. We are in our findings are seeing that there's not a lot of difference in young adults that have still claimed and kept their faith. Worship styles, not a huge factor. A watered down teaching style, not effective. Strongly proclaiming the gospel, very much so is. As well as a hyper entertaining ministry program. It's not seen as effective. You might see in churches across the street, and I thank you so much for my year and 3 months being here. No one has ever compared Good Shepherd to another congregation because we're all on the same team, and B, every context is different. And our context looks different, our mission is different from the church across the street. So while some congregations might look like they have hyper entertaining ministry programs, their percentage of young adults, so if they have a hyper entertaining high school program, their percentage of adults that stick with their faith is pretty much the same as our young adults that kind of drop off after confirmation. We're just seeing it earlier. But in the long run, we're really no different from the congregations that may have big, flashy youth ministries with neon lights and fireworks and all that stuff. So these are the things we're seeing aren't making a huge difference in youth ministry overall. I want to tell a story. On October 31st this year, we did our first Sunday morning education cross-generational event since I've been here. We all have done in the past and have had great success. The first one that I was kind of at the helm with was on October 31st, Reformation Sunday, but we were celebrating All Saints, preparing for the next Sunday. We had tables sitting together. I forget how we split them up. It may have just been totally randomized colors. We had young children from 4th grade up, middle school, high school, young adults, all the way up through our older congregation members. Everybody there at tables, mixed conversation. We did devotional time together. We did a service project, and we shared in rituals and traditions. Great success, heard a lot of really good stories from it through the conversation that was had. I spoke to an adult afterwards and asked him how the experience was for him. And he said, it was fantastic, but I want to tell you what came up in conversation with one of our young people. And this is a young person that I find very involved, very active, like our normal young person. You know, this is not the only game in town. They're in sports, they're in school, they're trying to get grades and get into college. And, but still, I feel this young adult or this high school student is very involved, and I would feel very connected into the congregation. Well, she shared at the table that Good Shepherd, and this is just the case with this person because I see bright spots at Good Shepherd, but this one young person communicated that Good Shepherd, she wanted it to feel more like home. She said she didn't feel known as much as she would like, and she wanted to feel at home here, which was striking, but then the more I dug into what current research is saying is that is truly what young people are looking for and where the studies and the research findings are pointing to over and over again, that young people want warmth over cool. They want to feel known. They want their congregations to feel like family. They want their congregations to feel like home. And what does that look like? That looks like being welcomed, being missed, being cared for, caring for as well, so it's a two-way street. Not cool. not something that's hip, not something that's trying to be entertaining, not something that's trying to compete with culture. They're looking for family. They're looking for community. This is a strong desire of young people, and I'm sure it was of y'all and the young people in the first slide. We are all, the desires of young people, they would say, are to have a place to belong, to figure out who I am, and to have something meaningful to do. And when we can meet these three desires here, we're doing great ministry. But the one I want to focus on this morning, and the one I think that matters to everyone here, is young people want a place to belong. Warmth over cool. I think that's great. Similarly, they like real over relevant. When I'm selecting adults for ministry, or selecting or training, I throw around the term AAA adult. We want adults in this congregation to be authentic, affirming, and available. That's not cool, that's not young, that's not hip. That's someone who listens, someone who cares, someone who's authentic and real. And that's messy. Doesn't look clean all the time. Real relationships, I can vouch for it. I'm sure everybody here can. Real, deep relationships get messy. And that's what young people want. Where else can they go where they can mix with such a strong array of generations and people that care for them than a congregation? If we're not tapping into that, if we just have one youth minister with the kids, or and all these other valuable adults not pouring into their lives, then we're really missing out on such a wealth of caring adults. I've shared before, and I'll probably share again in my notes, but these adults that are strong in their faith can almost always point to at least 5 caring Christian adults that poured into their lives when they were younger. So the more we can introduce through cross-generational events, through worship, through serving together, through meeting up at the coffee bar, always great. And then similarly, on the same line, people over programs. Programs are important, but only if they stress people and relationships. So when we're doing stuff up in the Sunday school room, we're sharing highs and lows. We're delving into relationships with one another. If we're doing a trip, or we got the youth gathering coming up next summer, which we'll talk about a little bit more, we're getting ready for it through intentional small group time, conversations to prepare us about topics that will be addressed, as well as just getting to know one another deeper. So programs are good, but we don't want programs, a myriad of programs, to work against warmth or getting to know one another. So you'll see as we carry over into the programs that we might look a little stripped down from this year, but we're more intentional and very, very people focused for next year. I have been writing faith prints for the past 2 weeks, and I won't get into that today, but I point you to them and ask you if you want to, I invite you to revisit them. A couple quotes I shared as far as cross-generational ministry is concerned, because Director of Cross-Generational Ministry, it means all generations, not just young people. But I do want to point and stress that cross-generational discipleship is beneficial not only for young people, but also for older generations who need the vitality of the young to inspire their faith, as much as the young need wise elders to ground theirs. Faith is not just passed down, it's passed around. The title to this morning. 2 great ways for cross-generational relationship to happen is in worship, as well as through mentorship. And there's been a great mentorship program here with our confirmands. Our current 8th graders have mentors, and we're looking at what that looks like for next year as well. Mentors have been assigned, I believe, in the 7th grade year of confirmation. We are now encouraging all of our confirmation students to participate in the cross-generational events and congregational events if they have not been, and get to know as many adults as they can, and then select their mentors. Probably ask them to pick 3, and then we'll choose one for them at the end of confirmation, giving confirmation mentors, these adults, specific expectations for the high school years to walk alongside our young people through high school as mentors. So we're working on that program, and we have mentors for our current 8th graders, but then next year with our current 7th graders, we'll look to launch that. So mentoring has happened. It's been very effective here. We're going to continue with that, which we're looking forward to. I think I have one more quote here. Healthy churches reach young people, and young people make churches healthier. If your church is reaching 20-year-olds, your church will reach 60-year-olds. I'm going to trust that. I believe it to be true because I feel like I've seen it. It sounds like a funky statement, but is anybody here? Can anybody here speak to that? Does anybody here, as a 60-year-old or a 50-year-old or a 70-year-old, feel reached because of ministry with young people? Meg?
I think this has to be the mix. Young people are older, but we all have something to give. And sadly, I was at a church in Coffee last week. There were 52 people attending the service. It's a very small church. There wasn't one child. And it was, well, there must be here something. And there was not one yet. And that's how it's really soft.
Megan is speaking to a very common trend. This book that I've just finished that I wrote my fingerprints on is called Growing Young, and it's addressing the congregations that don't have kids. And Good Shepherd is very much growing young. Why is that happening? Well, y'all have made very intentional decisions and sacrifices starting way before I ever arrived, choosing to have a designated Sunday school hour apart from worship, so young people can learn how to worship, interact with young people. Now with young people serving more, getting leadership roles, having a stake in leadership, not just in youth ministry, but in the congregation as a whole is huge. I had one other point on that one, but yeah, those are huge. Yes. Can we leave questions to the end? Unless you have a similar story to share.
I wanted to add something to what you were talking about, is that it's been my observation that Raleigh is such a transition area. We have people transferring in here and out of here, and we have people that are being brought in, older people because they're grown, children want to be there for their protection. So since we have a lot of children that are here without the grandparents, and a lot of grandparents that are here without children, maybe we have to think about a foster grandparent, grandchild sort of thing to do that in.
That's great. That's very cool. A lot of this we can be intentional about. A lot of it can be organic as long as we, through leadership and through the culture, make this intentional decision to grow young, to have kids in worship, to continue involving them in leadership, and I know Dee Dee has stricken up wonderful conversations with people here, and I've heard that happening, and it's fantastic.
It was fun.
And you know them, and they know you, and it's really great. And Dee Dee's been here for 4 months, 5 months. Awesome. Or less.
Officially.
Yeah. So yes, that's a huge trend in congregations, and a lot of intentional decisions have to be made to prioritize young people, which sounds harsh coming from a director of cross-generational ministry, but there are benefits for all ages, and that's how congregations grow and thrive and buck the trend that Meg has experienced, that a lot of congregations sadly are experiencing. One question to always ask in any ministry, congregationally, and this is not, I think you can see this abused when and I haven't heard it here, but a lot of congregations will say, well, there's something we don't want to do, let's get the youth to do it. This is not what I'm saying with the next statement, but one question we have every ministry must ask is, how can we involve young people? And we're seeing this. And I want to continue seeing this. It's fantastic. Monet is involving young people saying KDPG2, Monet this summer. We see Laura Prill set up a fantastic prayer vigil for Holy Week that we had some young people participate in, and there were resources there that young people could dive into. It's not all heavy, it wasn't for all adults, but there was stuff that, how can we involve young people? How can young people be invited into this and participate? Any other examples anyone seen of ministries doing a good job of inviting young people? Ginny?
Every cafe from its inception, we had youth servers, and that's the favorite part of all our guests. So we need more, so.
What grade, at what,
They're aging out.
yeah,
So, third grade up through middle school.
they start, the current, some of them start in third grade and they're in seventh grade
Well,
now?
they're 18.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
And they love it, and they don't miss it.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't want to bring other people because they own it. So
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a big thing too, feeling ownership and leadership and know that, hey, we need you. If you're not here, this isn't gonna run. We're not here to entertain. This is not something that you're a consumer, you're giving, you're serving, and this would not run without you. How are we doing on time? Yeah, I want to thank everybody, youth ministry volunteers, staff, as well as those who have been involving young people for a long, long time that continue. I want to affirm you in everything that's been happening because studies are saying that this works. And we have just heard that 2 former young folks from our congregation graduated from college and are headed to Young Adults in Global Missions, YAGM. We've got Brian Lester and Megan Hudson-Bueller are heading at that. It's fantastic. Claiming their faith and continuing to share the word and service across. One's going to be in Madagascar, and Megan's going to be in Madagascar, and Brian's going to be, I believe, either in Mexico or in state.
It's gonna be Mexico.
Mexico?
Yeah.
The fact that somebody knew that. That's awesome. I love it. Yeah.
Involve young people, music and worship.
Music and worship, it's how we involve young people, absolutely. Yep. Mhm. See that all the time, so.
Family promise.
Hmm?
The family promise win.
Family promise, yeah. We were doing confirmation conversations with our 8th graders, and multiple said, asked, how do you see yourself continuing to be involved after confirmation? Say, Win Week, and I want to do more, or Family Promise Week, rather. So, yes, so thank you. All right, what about youth group? All right, how are we doing? We've got 25 minutes, very good. What about youth group? As you can tell from this conversation, the youth ministry is much more than youth group. And we have a youth group, but we are a youth ministry. Our congregation, what we do for young people is youth ministry. There is a youth group. Ken Newcomer has been faithfully leading the middle school youth group for quite some time. Sandy Cash has been leading with Jillian, the high school youth group, for quite some time. Great dedicated adults that love our kids and children. So youth group is important, but it is a small slice of youth ministry. Prioritizing young people means caring for young people in their entire faith journey, as well as caring for their family, their parents, equipping and supporting them to do ministry here, as well as ministry in the home. Again, another continuation of Seeds of Faith and stuff y'all have been doing for a long time. Flip over your sheets, would you, to this diagram. This is the faith journey of a child. And as you can see, and if I have a laser pointer, I would point to around the, the 6, 7 o'clock age level ministries. That's pretty much youth group. That's our middle school youth group or our Sunday school. That is one slice of a 8-slice pizza pie. We have other things that are important to child's faith journey, including home visits, Faith in the Life home resources, so supporting the home and supporting parents. We may have interactions with youth if they come every week, maybe 2-3 hours, but parents have influence on young people for a lot more of the day, whether they believe so or not, or think they do or not. Christian parenting enrichment. So that's more coaching and equipping adults and parents. Intergenerational enrichment events. That's getting all generations together to care for and pour into our young people. Leadership training for our young people. Congregational worship celebrations. Adult Christian education. All these are parts of the youth faith journey. And then it's also concentric circles that say, what are we doing in the congregation, what's going on in the home, and what's going on in the community. I've had this for a long, long time, I think since 2008 when I started Youth Ministry Certification School in Gettysburg Seminary. So it's been a while since I brushed up on exactly what some of them mean. I imagine congregation is what happens here, home is how we can equip folks to do ministry in the home, and maybe that's providing newsletters, email resources, stuff like that, and as well as classes here. And then community is how we're reaching young people in the community. I want everybody to take 2 seconds. If you need a pen, you can borrow one from me or someone at your table. From your perspective, I would love you to go around to the different spaces in the circles. Bold, really fill in places where you think Good Shepherd is strong, where we're just killing it with good ministry. If we've got great congregational age-level ministries, if you think that, I want you to fill it in. If you think we have, if we're doing great intergenerational enrichment events or we need work on that, if you think this area needs work, shade it or just put some dashes. And if there is an area in the concentric circle that you believe we're totally missing, it's non-existent, either leave it blank or exit out. I'll give you all a few moments. Please feel free to talk with your tables as well. This is something that if you are unclear of what's happening, ask a buddy and say, well, what have we seen? And some of this could just be poor communication on our part as far as what's going on. But as far as the holistic youth ministry and faith mission for young people, take some time to chat with your group and see what you come up with and see where we're going and where we are slacking. All right, let's pull it back in. I want to hear 2 things on each. Ones that your tables felt really strongly about in your conversations. Should we start with the good, or should we end with the good? Let's end with the good. All right. What are I'll pick 2 tables. I want to hear 2 things that the congregation feels not only an area that's non-existent that you've blackened or put an X through, but one that you think could potentially be like our next step, something that you feel like not only doesn't exist, but it's kind of a glaring omission. Anybody want to share an area of the child's faith journey? Thank you. Can we give thanks for the projector not being over? Would anyone like to share? Kevin?
We just wondered sort of where social media would fit in.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't here, and we didn't have great answers. We just saw it as a potential gap.
Sure. How could social media? We've got congregational worship and stuff that happens in-house, but as far as all the other time outside of the congregation, how can we use such social media be a separate area to itself, or should it be a means to enhance and enrich some of these areas? Again, I think this graphic came out either in the dawn of social media or even pre, but that's great.
I think we have some of that, but we could improve on it through our community part on our website that works, but I think we could make it better, maybe a Facebook page or somebody might have a better idea.
Scott, thank you, Dee. Scott.
We could actually do some anti-social media things to insist that when we're in a group, that we don't have our face in the post.
Yeah.
I think that would be very useful. For adults too.
Well, what we found, as far as social media goes, especially with our Instagram, the social media that our young people are on, we need to be using those to share stories, not so much. We've got services like the city and texting to promote stuff, but as far as Instagram, picture, Twitter, we need to be story sharing with those. And we'll find a lot of people, young people are, through Snapchat or Instagram at events. I'm not going to embarrass anybody that's here, but I've seen some very, very sweet evangelizing, storytelling, testimonies through Instagram after retreats and times together. And it's very powerful and connects. Is there a second space on the circle that anyone? Paul?
Yeah, adult Christian education.
Adult Christian education. Can you go into that? Or is there the whole slice?
I think the whole slice. I think particularly in our congregation, that it's very limited opportunities for adult Christian education. I know we have
Yeah.
Bible studies on Tuesday morning, but then we have Sunday morning Christian education. It's just not there.
Thank you, Paul. I think one of the best things that we can do as adults is to model our faith for young people. I think that was one of the great things about separating education hour from worship, is it not only allowed young people to worship with their families, but it gave space for adults to delve into their Christian education to say, hey, after you graduate high school or confirmation, there's more. We still are invested in this. This is important to us. This is important that we still are studying, and it's not just a young Sunday school, not just a young person thing, but it's a lifelong thing, and us modeling it it shows that it's important.
We have a
Thank you, Paul.
library.
We do have a library. Yeah, I'd love to give you.
I
That's
wanted
all right.
to
Yeah.
donate some books that.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks, Diane. What about shaded areas or areas that need work?
I just want
Yeah.
to follow what Paul said. This is the very least space that's been built for me in this church. Is the
Right on.
adult education.
Thank you.
On Sunday.
Sure. I know Pastor, passing the buck, that's my second buck reference joke. That is one of Pastor Marsh's big, we only have 10 minutes and we have a whole section to get to. But yes, Pastor Marsha is, adult education is her passion. We're really excited to have her. Let's end with one thing that we can work on that we're kind of getting there, and then one thing that we are killing it at. Anybody? Home visits. Yeah. We need to work on home visits. Yeah, we're looking at implementing some home visits to start the confirmation program, as far as the pastors and I going to young people's homes to begin and bless that process.
Andrew, Monica has her hand up.
Well, I just want to say, as far as adult education, for me, having the adult Christian education class that was for mostly and other parents around those of us who parent middle schoolers has been a lifesaver for me, literally.
Here's the
At this
teacher.
church.
Awesome, thank you for sharing. Great, very cool. Well, we don't have a whole lot of time. We've got to start stretching for our kickball game later on. But just did want to make you aware that when we talk about youth ministry, so much more than youth group, lots of stuff that we are looking into and putting energy into. The way youth ministry looks like here at Good Shepherd Children Youth Ministry, children is 0 through 5th grade, and that is the children director Barbara Newcomer, her zone, and she is the director of children's ministry. She selects and equips many awesome volunteers that have helped and continue to help. So she is the ringleader for that age right now for youth. I am responsible for working with the volunteers, equipping, selecting, nurturing volunteers who then pour into our young people. Children, youth, the 4 sections for each that we're working on. Milestone blessings, this is for our children. Milestone blessings, and we'll get into these with slides. Sunday school, crosswalk kids, which we're excited to share with you about, and family faith formation events. Youth for high school and middle school, milestone blessings, pre-confirmation high school Sunday morning education, youth group and youth gathering and fundraising. Milestone blessings. This fills new areas of our child's faith journey. We use this time to, rituals are super important. We work with parents. We equip parents to practice blessings at the home and do stuff together and have these conversations. Before kids are even born, we have baptismal seminars, and we are working on a milestone blessing plan to bless the first baptismal anniversary entry into worship, teaching families and young children how to worship and how we welcome kids into that. Welcome into Sunday school. We're going to continue with First Communion, third grade Bible blessings. Right now, from 0 to 18, we have about 7 or so milestone blessings. We'd love to get to one every year. The purpose of these are to, again, show the importance of rituals, but also for stuff like baptismal anniversary, when a child turns 1, or blessing of backpacks when kids go into kindergarten. We want to invite parents and kids so we can equip parents to celebrate those milestones every year. So although we be, as a congregation, celebrating the 1-year-old baptismal anniversary, we will give them resources so every year at the baptismal anniversary they can celebrate at home. Every year before the child goes off to school, they can do a blessing at home and really bring a ministry into the home that way. We're going to continue, and if you have any good ideas for milestone blessings, we'd love you to help get involved. Sunday school, 6th grade pre-confirmation, and high school SME. Confirmation itself is more pastors. Of course, I'm involved and I do some teaching, but as far as that youth ministry side of the org chart that I have, Sunday school is, and that's Worship and Wonder, which is for our 3-year-olds for our 3rd grade, and our 4th and 5th grade Sunday schools. That's under Barb. Barb trains, selects, and finds teachers for that. Pre-confirmation is our 6th grade students, and then high school SME will continue up in our Aaron Chafee room. That is going to look like every week or so. We're going to do a program called Faith Lens. We're going to do caring conversation, devotions, rituals, and service every Sunday. If kids want to bring their friends or they want to drop in any Sunday, it's going to be based off the lectionary. They can come anytime. Our youth group, as I'll explain, will have a little more meat to it. It'll have a little more commitment, but high school is something where high schoolers can drop in any week, whether or not they came to the week prior. So any of this stuff, we'd love to continue talking with you afterwards, as well as thank those who have made these possible and have been doing these already. Crosswalk Kids is really one I want to highlight. Previously, we've had 4 different children's ministries: Kids on Fire, Serving Our Savior, True Believers Faith Club, and Little Shepherds. They're great for insiders who know what they are, but for visitors, saying that we have SOS and KOF, it's very tricky. So we're looking to strip the insider language. Crosswalk Kids, that's what it says. It's our kids ministry. We're going to be walking together with Jesus, and if there are age-specific ministries like, oh, this is for 1st and 2nd graders, this is for 3rd and 4th, it will be specified, but our children's ministry will be Crosswalk Kids, which we're excited about. Youth group will continue. It will be 1st and 3rd Sunday nights next year. Middle school and high school will share a meal, and then they will split. 6:30 to 8 o'clock, it will end. 1st and 3rd Sundays, it will also include retreats. Middle school will continue with the beach retreat and the bigger retreat, as well as in the spring, we're looking to get involved with the LYO retreat that the Synod puts on and get more synodical involvement. So we're really excited about that. Family faith formation events. This is another way we're meeting other spots in the circle. We are gathering family, and this is, again, has happened, but we're looking to take things that exist and continue to tweak them a little bit. Jen Hoagland and her team have put on an fantastic Advent Festival for years and years, and we thought this year, all right, how can we continue to make these events that are based around seasons, like the Gingerbread House event for our families is in December, and we've got an Easter egg hunt in the spring. how can we use these events to equip families to leave this place and do faith in the home? So we're going to continue to be very intentional with giving young families devotionals, things that they can do. Barb has some really cool, clever ideas that she's been doing and working on to Advent Festival. You make a wreath here, you go home, and you do Advent devotionals at home. And then finally, youth gathering and fundraising. Jillian Scalvini is our youth gathering coordinator for 2018. We try to do about 3 fundraisers a year to raise money for that. I'm not going to go way into youth gathering. We had a separate informational meeting, and there are, at the Wittenberg Wall, informational sheets on the youth gathering. But the congregation as a whole, we are going on that journey starting in the fall. So you'll hear all about it. Please, we'd love your support through fundraisers and your prayers. We'll communicate who's going, what we're learning as we're gearing up for it, and we're really excited. Current 7th graders through current 11th graders are eligible participants for that. All adult participants are always needed. We're dropping chaperones. Chaperone is someone who stands on the sideline just in case someone is to get hurt or needs to go home. Or discipline, exactly. I don't have to explain it because we talked about it at the beginning. We're about warmth. We're about walking together. Adult participants. The adults, there is some responsibility there. You're not a youth, you're an adult, but you're participating. We have adults who have gone on trips who will say they got more out of the trip spiritually than the kids because they have fully involved and participated. That's what we want. We want to keep, if it's a LYO event and they're singing and dancing, we want adults who are singing and dancing alongside the kids. Of course, we always need adults behind the scenes as well. There's a space for everyone. But as far as caring, AAA, authentic, available, and affirming adults in our lives, the participants, chaperones, strike it. I've vowed to strike junior high for my vocabulary, so I would like to invite you all to strike chaperones, if you would. And finally, I'll leave you with a closing sentiment. Oh, it's 10:30, it's perfect. Remember, youth aren't the future of the church, they are the church. Pastor Marsh Anderson. Pastor Marsh Anderson started in late summer. We're super excited, and what excited me the most is she dropped this truth bomb at her Q&A. If we stop looking at young people as, oh, they're the future of the church, but no, they're participants with us in our ministries. How can we get youth involved in our ministries everywhere? Not just a single slice of the youth group pie, but the whole thing. It's beautiful. I think that's all I got. If you have questions, I'll be around. Please, if you have conversation, let's keep it in here. Let's keep it good and positive, and please continue to talk about it. I took some photos, so I know everyone who's here, and I count you as an ally now. So thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate y'all being here again, and go Team Buck.